Hello and welcome to the Giraffe Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Laura and today I'm joined by creative manager Chloe and social media assistant Christy.
Hi!
Hi! Coming up on this week's episode, we'll be doing a round of Never Have I Ever Social Media Edition and discussing our killer tips for growing your Instagram, along with a pretty cool Instagram story update. Stick around to the end of the show where we'll be answering some of your burning DMs. So, I thought we'd just start off with a general natter, ask how your weeks have gone. Have they been okay so far? I know it's been really hot down here. Has it been hot where you are?
Super hot.
Loving it. Not even burnt, not even sunburnt yet, which is super unusual for me.
I was saying earlier, like, I'm just that typical Brit that when it's really cold, I'm like, oh, it's too cold. And then when it's too hot, I'm like, oh, it's too hot, I don't like it. I just honestly can't win. I love the sun, but I'd just like it to be a little bit cooler.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I keep saying I didn't move all the way from Australia for it to be this hot. I came for a cooler climate. So I'm with you, Laura. I'm like, I love the sun, but the heat can kind of just like not. I wouldn't mind. But yeah.
No, cool. I also thought we'd start with something fun this episode. Never have I ever, but social media edition. So I have a few never have I evers for you guys, and then if you could answer whether you have or haven't done this. So the first one, never have I ever posted song lyrics as my Facebook status.
Religiously.
Absolutely. And it didn't even start with Facebook. It started with like MSN, and I'd make my bio. I'd change it every day, maybe even every 5 minutes to a different song lyric, depending on my mood. And then, I inevitably moved across to Facebook, and now my Facebook memories likes to remind me every day, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. When I look back at the statuses I used to write, I swear I used to do it for attention though. I feel like I used to put like really deep song lyrics that people would comment and be like, are you okay? And I'd be like, it's just a song lyric.
I remember specifically posting, if you remember, Airplanes by Paramore. Like, can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars?
Oh, I love that.
And you get people, like you said, like, are you okay, babes?
Yeah. I'm glad we've all done that.
Yeah, what a moment in social media like history that
honestly
we used to do. I bet the 15-year-olds of today don't do that anymore.
No. They missed out. Next one. Never have I ever stalked an ex-partner or ex-friend on social. I mean, yes.
Yeah. It's interesting to see what people are doing.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I think it's just knowing like, where. Definitely. I think it's just like curiosity, isn't it? Like if there's someone I used to like maybe be friends with even at school that like we've lost touch, but maybe I don't follow them, I might every so often be like, I'm going to have a stalk, see what they're up to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I do it with like ex-friends or boyfriends, but I definitely do it with celebs. Like I don't follow the Kardashians on anything, but every now and then I'm like, what's Kendall Jenner up to? And then I just like search her up and just have a bit of a stalk and go on with my day.
Yeah, no, I love that. Cool. Next one. Never have I ever almost posted a personal picture on a client's social account.
Ooh,
I don't think I've done that, not yet.
Touch wood. Yeah. No, I've never done it. There has been times where I've like perhaps forgotten to save an image that I'm posting to a story. So when it comes up, obviously it comes up with all your personal pictures, and I'm like, oh, I need to save the picture I want to post and not post the picture of my cat.
I did over the weekend accidentally. I was uploading a story and I had 2 clients who had a story due like at the same time, and I accidentally posted the wrong story to the wrong client, but that's a quick fix. But still embarrassing. I hope no one noticed.
I'm sure no one did. Cool. Never have I ever commented on a celebrity's post. Now, Chloe, I know you've definitely done this.
Exposed. I don't actually, I'm sure I absolutely have, but I try not to because I know that people, like, if you follow a celebrity that your friend follows, they'll see that you've commented. So
yeah.
I try not to do anything too, like, thirsty or desperate, that kind of thing, but maybe I'll do the occasional yes queen.
Yeah. Hope
and obviously
noticed.
obviously the Instagram giveaways. Like
that,
I think they're the only times that I'll comment on like a celebrity's Instagram photo.
Those big like $1 million Louis Vuitton giveaways.
Yeah. And they'll say tag a friend. So I gotta do what I'm told. I'll tag a friend.
Respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if we enter enough competitions, I mean, we've got to win one, surely.
Mm-hmm.
We're still going. We'll keep going.
God loves a trier. So, moving on to our main segment of this week's episode, we are, of course, going to be discussing our top tips for growing your Instagram. Now, as you're probably aware, Instagram is the go-to when it comes to selecting a platform to showcase your content. And with so many people wanting to grow their Instagram presence, it's never been more important than now to stand out from the crowd. There are tons of tips, tricks, and pointers online, each giving advice on the best methods of growing your Instagram accounts. So that's why we wanted to have a discussion that rounds up all the best surefire growth methods. Chloe, why don't you start us off with your killer tips?
I would love to. I gotta say, I know we're past spring now, but it's never too late for a little bit of spring cleaning. So my first tip is actually to get started with your Instagram bio. So whether you've got a new account or you just want to, as I said, clean up your existing account, the bio is kind of the place to start because it is the first thing that new followers or your audience sees when they visit your profile, but it's also searchable. So very important that you get it right to reach new eyes. I'd say you want to get started with your name, the little title section. I personally, like, if you're maybe like a creator or like a social media manager freelancing, would use this as your title as opposed to your name. And that's purely because when people are kind of searching for things on Instagram, not everyone knows you, so they're not going to search for your name or maybe your brand, but they are going to search for like what you do or what they're looking for. So for example, we at Giraffe are thinking of changing our Instagram bio from Giraffe Social Media to the social media specialists, because that's what we are, and we're more likely to have people searching for a social media agency than they are to search for Giraffe. So definitely get started with your title. And then I think it's super important to make the rest of your bio look really clean. So maybe you'll use the first sentence of your bio to explain what you do and how you do it, just to give your audience a little bit of an idea. And then underneath you can include like any other credentials you have, maybe a link to like, I don't know, external resources, or if you have like a link tree, definitely use that. My second tip though is to stick to a theme, which I think most people probably already do, but for me, when I'm thinking about following someone, that's like the number one thing I'm looking at is your feed pretty? Is this gonna like disrupt my news feed? I don't want messy posts, thank you very much. So I think, yeah, having a cohesive feed is almost as important in the type of content you're creating. So I think if you're not really sure where to get started, maybe take a look at your brand colors and then you can match your feed to that, make sure everything looks pretty, or you can do it with the types of posts you're creating. So maybe you'll do like a product image and then a testimonial and then another product image, so that you're creating this nice grid. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. I definitely recommend, though, planning your feed in advance. I don't know about you guys, but batch creating your content and, using an app that kind of lays your Instagram grid out for you is just like the perfect tool, because you can move things around in advance. You can make sure everything looks pretty. And then ultimately, hopefully, you'll get some more followers from that because, yeah, as I said, a cohesive feed is my number one thing anyway. And my final tip, I guess, which is very topical, and we've talked about it recently on the podcast, is using Reels. As we know, the head of Instagram has come out and said that unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, videos are now like their priority on the app. Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app. It's now, pretty much video to keep up with TikTok. So my advice for any beginners who are kind of looking to get into Reels, if you're not already posting that, and I feel like a broken record saying this, but repurpose your content. Like if you're really not sure how to get started, take a look at some of your most successful posts in the past, see if you can turn them into a video, and you don't even really have to be speaking. You can do lists, the old point and write the text to the beat of the music. That always works a treat. Yeah, classic, right? So yeah, sharing like top tips, lists, even like behind the scenes with some nice vlog music behind always performs really well. And yeah, it's just a massive way to reach new eyes at the moment. So those are my top 3 tips. But hey, if you're not into Reels, you might want to give stories a try. Isn't that right, Christy?
Oh, it is right, Chloe. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Posting stories is such a good way to get not just new followers but engagement as well, using like interactive stories. So there's so many different options, but the slider sticker, so you post 3 different photos within the story and have the slider right here, and people can slide up to where they
current favorite.
Absolutely, I've been using it for all my clients. Yeah, so they can like pick their favourite item, or of course the classic poll, or the point up and the point down to whichever product you like. There's so many different options, and it's so easy. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely find myself clicking when I'm going through stories. I so interact with like those polls, even if I don't know the person, because it's so easy.
Yeah, definitely.
And
sometimes my finger just does it. Like,
yeah,
just as I'm clicking, and I'm like, oh, I voted in that poll. Okay.
And it will always be like the bad answer that you voted for. It'll always be like, do I look good? No.
The amount of DMs I get when I post a poll where people have to message me and be like, I didn't mean to vote that you look ugly. It was my finger. I'm like, it's fine.
Excuses.
I understand.
And obviously, I guess this goes on from Chloe's point about having a cohesive feed, but making sure that your story highlights look really good. That's a great way. It's a great extension of your feed. Making sure that is also cohesive with the theme of your feed. And I would also say, this is an obvious one. It's the one that everyone loves. Consistency is key. Posting, you don't have to post daily by any means, but like every day, every other day, even every 3 days is so important, because I definitely, if I go onto someone's page and they've not posted since 17th of May a couple of months ago, I'll avoid following them, even if I really like their feed, because you think what's the point, they're not going to post. And obviously it's great, it keeps you sort of within the algorithm. Instagram knows that you're still there, you're still kicking. So and obviously it helps you just build that community within your followers. So not only will it attract new followers, you'll build relationships. People will comment if you're posting that much, because they sort of recognize you, and you can build those relationships, which is so important in social media. So yeah, mine I think would be stories and consistency.
Yeah, I love that. You touched on some really great points there. Thank you. Moving on from there, I have a few top tips as well. And I think one of those sort of goes without saying, and that's engaging captions. Obviously, as we know, like having an image that stands out on your followers or users' newsfeed is really important, but also having a caption that goes with it that's engaging enough to get people to interact with your post is more likely to be favoured by the platform's algorithms, and also more likely to get more people comment and read your post as well. So I think always making sure that what is in the copy is relevant to what's in the post itself. It doesn't matter if the copy is really long, as long as it's really compelling and exciting. It will get your audience reading. So I think that's super important. And also hashtags. I mean, this is something we talk about so much on the podcast, making sure that you're using the correct hashtags. Now, we tend to put hashtags in the first comment of a post just to make the copy look a little bit tidier, a little bit neater, and that doesn't impact the reach of the post. But mixing up your hashtags to find the ones that work best for you. So whether that means A/B testing, perhaps a bunch of hashtags, or changing maybe a couple of hashtags each post, seeing which works best. But ultimately, again, like I said with the copy, making sure that your hashtags are relevant to the post. There's no point, it's pointless adding hashtags to a post that just don't make sense. And I think the platform's algorithm will probably flag that anyway.
Yeah, I think little known fact about Instagram hashtags is that Instagram actually has like a facial recognition for all their posts. So if you're hashtagging, I don't know, a picture of your product with like hashtag New York, and the algorithm is like, this has got nothing, like it can see your image, so it knows that it's got nothing to do with that, and therefore it's like not really going to put it out to those hashtags. So that's like a fun tip for everyone.
Yeah. No, that's a really interesting point, Chloe. Thank you. My third and I suppose final tip, because we've sort of covered everything, is to engage with other creators or engage with your audience as well. Commenting on content or DMing other creators, really getting involved with your community is vital to growing your Instagram account. So spending time each day engaging with other creators, engaging with your audience, using the explore page to comment, like, or share other posts is a great way to sort of get your Instagram account seen. If I know, for example, if someone I don't follow comments on one of my pictures on Instagram, I'm going to go to their feed. And it's the same for brands as well. Like if you're engaging with the community as a brand, when that user sees your brand pop up, they're likely to go and check out your Instagram page. And if your feed is really cohesive and really consistent, they're most likely going to follow it. So again, super, super important tip for growing your Instagram account. So thank you both for sharing your top tips. It's now time to dive into the top social media news story of the week. Instagram story drafts are now available to all users, which I think is super exciting. So Instagram announced that the feature was coming back in March, and now all users have the option to save their Instagram stories as drafts within the app. So essentially the option is activated when you go to exit out of the stories composer mid-process. You can then choose to save your story to a draft, and a new alert will notify you that the stories drafts are deleted a week after you save them. So they won't be there forever, but the option obviously does provide you with additional scope for putting together more comprehensive, crafted compositions, which you can then share at a time that best suits your audiences. So yeah, guys, what do you think about that? I personally think that's really exciting. I mean, the option to create something and have it there, and like you say, ready to post for the best time for your audience.
Definitely.
Yeah, I discovered this over the weekend because I tried to delete a story and it was like, do you want a draft? And I was like, oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
I kind of wish it came a little sooner, to be honest. I had a little brand collab recently and I had to like post a bunch of stories for them. And I took the images kind of prior to uploading the story, and I was like, oh, I really need to like figure out what I'm going to use as the text, but I can't do it until I'm actually posting because I need to tag people. And I was like, oh, I'll use story drafts, but unfortunately the feature wasn't available to me yet. But I love this. I think this is super cool, especially I think for social media managers, because there's not really a scheduling app that can connect or intertwine with your stories yet. So I think this is kind of like a nice halfway point where, especially if you've got 7 days until the story deletes, if you're doing your post in advance, you can kind of almost schedule it in there through the drafting feature. So yeah, love this, Insta. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I think this is going to be a game changer, particularly for people like us working with clients. If we want to create a story, obviously at the moment, what we do is have to create the story in Instagram, save it. I know I email it to myself, put it in a schedule for my client, and then I have to like find my email that I like sent to myself to then post it. Whereas now you can just, like you say, save it as a draft, go back to it and post when you need to post. I also think this is going to be a really great opportunity for influencers, as you touched upon, Chloe, like when you're doing brand collaborations. It means that you don't have to sort of upload the post that you've saved. You can upload it sort of fresh, which I think, well, from what I've seen personally, gives like a better quality to the videos. Sometimes once you've saved something to your phone and then you re-upload it, the quality's not quite there. So I'm hoping that the quality will be there now. You can have drafts. What about you, Christy? What are your thoughts?
I love it. I mean, you guys have kind of already covered what I would say about it. Like, I'm the same as you, Laura. I'll save it in Asana and then have to go into Asana on my phone, like upload it there. But it's going to be, I don't know how many times you guys are on like a certain client's account, and then you think there's something I've got to do on the other account, and you're already kind of halfway through it, and it's so frustrating to have to come off it. So I
Yeah.
think it'll save a lot of work and it'll make everything just a lot more streamlined. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I'm so excited for it, and like you said, Chloe, I wish it had come sooner, but it's never too late. It's never too late.
It's never
Exactly. It's here now. That's all that
Exactly,
matters.
exactly. It's just late to the
done.
party.
Classic Instagram, though, isn't it? Really classic Instagram, and you think, why weren't these things available before? Like,
Hmm.
they're really keeping us on our toes, aren't they?
They really
Always.
are.
So, moving on to our newest segment of the podcast, which is Slide into Our DMs. We're going to be trying to answer some of your burning questions sent to us on social media in under 60 seconds, if we can do it. I mean, no pressure, guys, but I do have a couple of questions for you both.
Exciting.
Our first DM is all about hashtags, and it reads, how many hashtags should I use in each of my posts? So I feel like this is probably a great question for you, Christy. So why don't you take it away?
Sure. So I think 2 months ago I would have said 30, use all 30, because obviously it gets out to those niche audiences as well as a couple of the bigger ones. But as we know, in the last month or so, it's sort of changed. So now, is it between like 12 and 18 or 15 and 18?
Hmm.
Is thought to be the best. So I think it's, without really answering the question, I think it's the time to experiment with hashtags, try different numbers of hashtags, try different types, and see what does best and go from there. So experimentation at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is so key with social, isn't it? It's just testing, test everything, see what works, and
Hmm.
figure out your strategy from there, because it's just constantly evolving. Like you say, only a couple of months ago, research would say 30 hashtags, use them all, get as many as you can in there. But now it's like, okay, maybe let's lower that slightly. So, yeah.
Exactly. It's all changing.
Yeah, I think the best practice for hashtags as well is like in the same way that we batch our content, it's a really good idea to kind of batch your hashtags, especially if you're unsure really what's working for you. I think maybe creating like 5 that reflect the industry that you're trying to target, and then like maybe 5 that reflect the niche that you're trying to target, and then you can kind of customize those last final hashtags based on the content you're creating, because obviously not every image that you're popping out is the same kind of post, right? So like something
Mm-hmm.
might be about your product, so you could hashtag skincare, or like hashtag fashion, that kind of thing. Maybe some smaller, more niche hashtags than those ones. But then, the next day you might be posting a client testimonial, so obviously your hashtags are going to be completely different. And I think you're really hindering yourself if you're just copy and pasting on every image, because as we touched on, like Instagram can see your image and kind of tie it in with the hashtags, and they'll know if you're just copy and pasting or posting things that are completely unrelevant from what your brand is and what your posts are.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. There's no point sort of just adding in hashtags for the sake of making up numbers. You're better off having like fewer, nicher, more relevant hashtags than you are having many non-relevant hashtags that just don't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you. So our second DM this week is, what is the best free online tool for creating content? Chloe, I think you might have the best answer for this, so take it away.
Just call me content queen, yeah. This one will probably not come as any surprise to, I guess, social media managers or people who've been in the industry for a long time, but I think hands down Canva is probably the best tool that you can be using at the moment, whether you're a business owner or you're a social media manager, an agency, etc. And basically that's because you can pretty much do everything on Canva. You've got you can come up with template ideas. If you're not really sure what kind of post you want to create, you can take inspiration from what's already on there, or you can make your post completely from scratch. They've got every type of post that you would want to create under the sun already there for you, dimensions and all, which is a lifesaver because I couldn't tell you what each dimension for the posts are. But they've also got some great learning tools on there. You don't want to listen to me harp on about the features. They can teach you all about it for free. It's not just posting. If you have like a presentation you need to create, a CV, if you're going for a new job, all the templates are on there for you and it's completely customizable. You've got stock imagery, you've got graphics that are already created by some amazing illustrators. It really is like the place to be if you're trying to post any type of content on social media. So that is definitely my top recommendation. I hope I came in under 60 seconds.
I forgot about that part.
No, I completely agree with you, Chloe. I think Canva is like the user-friendly Photoshop. Like for me, Photoshop can be really confusing. Like I don't know. Yeah, I think Canva is just everything is just there and it's so clear. And the templates are a dream. Like some of the templates just look incredible. And all you have to do is sort of pop in like the images you want to use or add the text or add your brand colors and fonts to it and you can make it your own. So
it is basically like the lazy girl or guy's guide. Like you don't need to, if you don't want to do anything, you don't need to. You can literally pick a template, change the photo, maybe add your logo and you're done.
Yeah,
100%. I don't know about you guys as well, but I find that with Canva I'm literally finding something new like every time I go on it.
Yeah,
it's got so many little hidden features and like additions. It's full of surprises and little treasures.
Yeah, definitely. And I also and also I even create like ads on Canva as well, like images for ads and all of that. So like you said, Chloe, can literally be used for anything. So get on Canva if you're not. And also they do have the Canva Pro as well, which I think is really quite reasonable at like I think $9.99 a month or something. So it's cheap if you want to do that, but it's cheaper the free version and you still get loads. So those are our top DMs for this week. Hopefully we answered all your burning questions. But if you'd like to be featured in next week's episode, then make sure you slide into our DMs on Instagram at GiraffeSM. That sadly is all we've got time for today. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or follow us if you're listening on Spotify. We'd love to hear what you thought about today's episode, so make sure you reach out on social media and let us know what you thought. We've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time.